Thank you, Sister Jacqueline. All right, and we pray. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praises are due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. To thee alone do we serve, and to thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path of those you have bestowed favors upon, and not of those whom your wrath has been brought down, nor those who go astray. Amen.
Amen.
Yes. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, that witnesses there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. And once again, I say to my brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
So good to be in the company of those who are not prodigal, lean to not being prodigal concerning their souls, as the Holy Quran teaches us. And this word clearing, I cannot say enough about what it has meant or what it does generally mean to me in terms of development. And as I was saying a while back, I talked about how, the minister introduced Dianetics to us, and auditing was not something that really benefited me as much as just the education aspect. See, the minister, through introducing us to auditing, he was actually introducing us to a form of therapy, whereas therapy being the bigger subject than auditing, because auditing is part of, in mathematics, you would call a subset of therapy. Therapy is to repair. Therapy is to rehabilitate. Therapy is to restore to a former condition. In some cases, therapy would make the that which is therapy is performed on into a better state than the original, made even better. And as we know that Allah is in this dispensation of time, he's making all things new, and he's making his original creation. He has willed it, as the minister pointed out. He willed this creation of over 78 trillion years into perfection. And we are so blessed to be able to live in the time of the manifestation, not only of the defects, but the manifestation of the perfections. And in order for the manifestation of the perfection to come about, the manifestation of the defect must also come about in order to effect the perfection. And as the minister gives us, he gives us the cycle of thought that brings about the perfection in the study guides, which is the same basic cycle given to us in the supreme wisdom and the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where he says that you begin with self-examination, then you have self-analysis, then self-correction. And we can see this as being the process by which the original creator, God, went about bringing forth what we see today. He created the universe, then he examined what he created, found that it was not perfect, and then and analyze, we created it, examined it, and analyzed it. And his analysis said that it was not perfect. And so he willed it into to perfection. And so here we are. We are at the end of this manifestation of the original God. And it seems like we have formed, or we are forming that which we were speaking of earlier today. We're forming the cadre. Cadre, I don't know exactly how you would pronounce it, but we are forming this group of scientists that will help. We're helping our God to bring, he's not dependent on us, we're dependent on him, yet he has called us forth because he sees the value in each one of us to help him. He wants to bring this thing about as soon as possible. And so thank you, each and every one of you, for participating in this word clearing, because the word clearing is actually a clearing of the spiritual and mental wilderness of North America that exists in our minds. See? So when we clear this wilderness, then we are able to prepare it to make it fit for a new civilization, a new thought, as Allah makes all things new. And we were talking about the other day, we left off, and we had just getting started on the word auditing. And as we had acknowledged the other day that auditing is a very much misunderstood word. And I think when we begin to parse and clear these words, that we try to start from the most basic definition that we can, because in the basic definitions, we actually find all of the more the elements of the more complex definitions are all in the basics. And that's why you continue to hear these things that people say, teachers say, let's get back to the basics. Because to get back to the basics is to get back oftentimes into a more comprehensive perspective on that which you are studying. That word again, studying. And so clearing the word is really studying the word. Clearing these words is actually leading us, inshallah, to the mastery of these words. When you are able to use the words, and this is the thing that they said, and I forgot, I think it was in Closing the Gap, about, see, when you master the words, you can make a real argument, not only to others, but you make a good argument to yourself to become more solid. And see, these are things that Mr. Hubbard teaches us that help us to develop our minds. And when you are able to voluntarily, you can become, when you can cause a picture in your mind, when you can mock up a picture with details and with intention, where you are on the cause end, instead of mocking up a picture such as fear, that fear is the effect of something, that something has caused you, you know what I mean, some imminent danger or something like that has caused you to create a picture, a worrisome picture in your mind. So as we are able to understand the definitions of these different words, it increases our ability to mock up. And we're gonna go through that. That is one of the words that we're gonna study too. But to mock up, to mock something up, is to just create a picture of a particular thing in your mind. So if I said on the floor next to you right now, I want you to mock up a cinder block. All right, so you mock the cinder block up. That means that you see a cinder block, or you get a picture of a cinder block sitting next to you. And then so the beauty of mock-ups is that you have the characteristics of the physical universe with you. So I can say, mock up a cinder block. Then I say, reach down and pick that cinder block up. So when you mock up, you picking it up, you can actually feel the weight of the cinder block. And so this is how complete the mind is in its recording of reality, its recording of experience. Man, we are some wonderful people. We are some wonderful creatures because we are made in the image of our Father, Allah, who has came to us in the person of Master Farhad Muhammad. And we just cannot overemphasize. We should be thankful, because being thankful and grateful actually helps to align us and to realign us with the reality of God, which is the only reality. Now, if you and I are not experiencing that reality, then we're a little bit out of alignment and we begin to become more effect. And see, this is part of your nature. The part of your nature, a finer aspect of your nature is that you want to be cause. See, you don't really want to be effect. You want to be cause. That's just your nature. That's how you made. That is how a God thinks, and that is what you are. You are righteous God's children of the Most High. You are the sons and the daughters of God. That's what you are. Not because I said it, because somebody else said. That is really what you are, brothers and sisters. So we were talking about this thing called auditing. And as I was saying, it is a greatly and grossly sometimes misunderstood word. And it is under the subset. And if you study mathematics, you have sets and subsets. I want you to study that on your own. But auditing would be a subset of therapy. And so this is what we need. We are a little bit out of sorts. We're a little bit out of touch sometimes with ourselves, as the minister describes us as a people who have been lost from our native land, lost from our language, and he said lost even from the power of our own being. So we need therapy to rehabilitate ourselves, to restore us. As in the book of Malachi, it said that Elijah would come and he would restore us, you see. And in the 23rd Psalms, it talks about the Lord is my shepherd. He said, he restoreth my soul, you see. And this is what we're trying to do. All of the facsimiles and the recordings that are in our mind from this evil and corrupt and contrary world, you know what I'm saying, has put our souls in a state of disrepair, of non-optimum function and operation. So auditing is a therapy to put us back in touch with the one reality, which is the reality of Almighty God, Allah, Master Farhad Muhammad. Auditing is, as we were saying the other day, it is just sort of taking inventory. you got a problem. All right. So now you take all of the components out. You look and you see, well, what might be possibly the problem. So you take a look, you take an inventory. You take an inventory of yourself, and your auditor asks you a question. And see, the beautiful thing about asking you a question is just the natural process of the mind. When someone asks you a question, then you a question directs your attention to the object of the question. If I ask you a question, if you hear the question, if you are able to hear the question, your mind is really not so much voluntarily. It's almost like your mind is under the obligation to go wherever I have directed you as a questioner. That's why when you look and you start questioning people, when they take you in, if you're and they investigating a crime and they bring the person in for questioning, they look, you ask somebody a question and then you direct their mind to a certain, where were you at Friday night at 9:30 p.m.? And then they look at you because they know that when they ask you that question, they know that the attention of your mind went to that particular thing, and then you are getting a picture. And so they're seeing how you're reacting emotionally to this particular question, how you respond to a question. And it's sort of like, it's a question is sort of like a form, a gradient of communication. With a communication, when you, the simple definition is an exchange between two terminals. So when somebody asks you a question, it's almost like it's automatic, not necessarily that you would just say what the answer is, but the answer to that question, once it is put out there, that the answer will generally get there, unless there are some type of impediments that are there. Sister Tina, you have a question?
Yes, sir. I just want to be clear. You said that there are subsets and sets of therapy, and auditing is a
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. In other words, the therapy is the set, and then the auditing is a subset. I really don't want to get too deep into that. I really would need to get my mathematical dictionary. I don't want to veer off really from what we're saying. That was just sort of like an additional resource. So in other words, the set, just say like if you got all numbers, when you got all numbers, this is a set of numbers. You say numbers from 1 to 100. That's a set of numbers, all of the numbers. All right. And then so I say, well, all odd numbers between 1 and 100, that would be a subset. Does that make sense? It's a part. It's a distinctive part of the set. The subset would be a distinctive part of the set.
Yes, sir. I'm not trying to take you real far into this because you said study that on our own. I just wanted to write it down correctly that auditing, there are sets and subsets of therapy. Is that the word of therapy?
Right. Well, yeah. In other words, and I'm saying, and I'm depicting, the therapy is a set. Okay. So it is therapy is a set of there is therapy helps to rehabilitate. So there are many things that rehabilitate or correct or repair. There are many different things. So all of the things that repair or rehabilitate, you said this is a set of things, SET. All right. So among the set of therapies is auditing. So there's different kinds of auditing. So auditing would be a subset. The prefix meaning under. It's a set of things that come under therapy, which is the set. That makes sense? Yeah, maybe Luke Mon might be able to help me out a little bit. Well, go ahead, brother Luke Mon.
Yes, sir. Actually, I'm actually studying. I'm actually studying that right now for this semester. Like subsets would be, you have auditing, would be under therapy. You have straight wire. You have lock scanning. Those are all subsets, or
Right. Yes,
those
sir.
are all those. That's all different types of auditing that falls under the title of auditing. But these are smaller categories of the therapies: lock scanning, straight wire, postulate processing. These all come under the umbrella of therapy. Those are all subsets.
Yes, sir. And I think the operative word that you used there was categories.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so we invoke the word family into that particular thing. Thank you.
Like you have a Supreme bean, then you have a Chicago, you have a Atlanta bean pie, then you might have a bean pie from Houston. Those are all sub bean pies under the broad category of bean pies.
You beginning to sound like my brother, the human beatbox, Brother Kenny.
Oh, Brother Kenny, yes, sir. That's all he does is talk about bean pies.
He's a bean pie fiend. Yeah. but does that help Sister Tina? Because obviously we did need to spend some time on that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That helps. That helps. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Lukeman, also.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Anytime we got a question, see that's and that's what I was talking about before we did. The value of a question, it directs you to an answer. See, that's the value of having and formulating a question. It takes you to the answer. And some of you probably remember me talking about, we talked about, well, first of all, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad saying that he said, if you can understand the question, you can understand the answer. Because the question actually leads you to the answer. Ultimately, it leads you to the answer. It may be one or two little elements there that you don't quite see. Well, you know how it is. It's on the tip of my tongue. If it's on the tip of your tongue, you right there. You one gnat's hair away from it, you see. And so when you understand, if you can understand the question, then you can understand the answer. And Mr. Hubbard spoke of this professor at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, one of the foremost schools, education institutions in America, in the world for that matter. He said that was a professor at MIT that they used to call 99% Johnson. And he got that name because he put forth the idea that 99% of the questions that you brought forth could be answered just by the proper posing of the question. See, so when you get to the stage where you can ask a question, you are close to the answer, and generally speaking, you see. And so when you are asked a question by an auditor, then the auditor, a skillful, trained, and knowledgeable auditor, will ask you a question that you can basically answer. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something that you, a matter of calculation as much as a matter of recall or remember. And of course, you got different levels of recall and remember. When you got remembering is just sort of on the surface. And there is a certain amount of mocking up with remembering, but recalling, when returning, you actually are in a certain facsimile. You know, this is what you do with facsimiles, is that you are able to, or what you can do with facsimiles, you can actually relive the incident instead of remembering. See, remembering, you just putting pieces back together to try to make one. So that's the whole thing. Remember, where you got members of your body, you remember, you know, as opposed to returning to the facsimile. I hope that makes sense. Is your hand still up, Brother Newman?
No, sir, my apologies.
Oh, okay, no problem. All right. So all of these things are very, very, very important in understanding the auditing process. Because what we're talking about right now, you know, we're doing a little deep sea diving with auditing. How much real conversation about what auditing is have we engaged in since we've been into auditing? And as I was saying, often in the church, when they teach, even in the auditing courses, we, at least the first one, HDA course, which I have a certificate, this course does not really teach you what auditing is. It teaches you how to audit. You know, when you go to school, in a regular school, and see, this is sort of reflective of this world's institutions. When you go to school, they teach you how to do math, but they don't really teach you what math is. Now, you may be able to infer what it is, or you may be able to derive what math is, but they don't teach you that. So this is what we're doing. We're taking this word clearing, we're trying to get down to what they call the real nitty gritty. We're trying to strip this thing all the way down to the bone. We don't want to leave no stone unturned. Why? Because we are studying to be masters, Sister Jacqueline. We are trying to master this thing. We are trying to be cause, you know, cause over anything that we engage with. We want to be cause. That's what the highest level of the Scientologists are trying to do. They said the OT is someone who is at cause. Sister Denise, go ahead, dear. You there?
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. I unmuted. Yes, sir. Um, the minister was saying in the swan song is, when he went among the teachers in Mecca, whoever gathered those those the people that were very knowledgeable. I
Yes,
just
scholars, yes.
Yeah, the scholars. And so the minister, I wrote it, he goes to the root of what people say. And that's why he was saying that Brother Lucifer was crying on how he was handling them. And then he was saying, once you go to the root, which is what word clearing is, to understand what it is,
Yes,
not just teaching us how it's brought about. I think this is what you're saying. This is what I'm getting from that.
Mm-hmm.
And could somatic illness be part of that as well? What those therapies that you're talking about? Could somatic?
Well, the illness is something that you're trying to rehabilitate.
Okay.
The illness is where the therapy is directed to the illness, in order to repair the illness.
Oh, okay.
Right. See, the illness is what's wrong, and then so the therapy, which in this case is word clearing too. It is directed at the illness, because a lot of times the illness is just it's a misalignment, and so a misalignment of the soul with the body. And so when you are able to put the soul or the spirit back into alignment with the body, then the rehabilitation or repair or therapy takes place. You see. So, but that is what you're saying. That is right. The minister really was performing therapy on those scholars because they have a certain misalignment with their understanding of Islam is somewhat misaligned, partially because it was not time for this alignment to take place, or that it had not the fullness, as the minister mentioned the other day, the fullness of time. In the fullness of time, that's when we are going to be able to make the full alignment. And I remember Savior's Day 81, he was saying that God did not reveal the utmost truth of his religion during a time when the devil was supposed to rule, lest he interfere with his own prophecy and his own postulates, you see. And so when the minister comes now and he answers questions, the questions, sometimes he answers questions that the scholars didn't realize they even had these questions. They did not realize that they had certain unanswered or unresolved issues, and the minister brought the truth to them on a certain level where they were able to see into themselves that which they could not see up to that point. Demonstrating to them. He said, I represent the Mahdi. And so you got to, because you know how everybody looks at the black man and black woman of America anyway. And you know, man, them niggas ain't that the same way they say the same thing about us, we say about ourselves. Nigga, you ain't S. You ain't never been S and you ain't gonna never be S. And that's how the people, you know, the immigrants that come up here, even the Africans, all of them look down on us. Because we are acting out what our enemies put into us to weaken us so that we could be used as a slave and a tool. So now the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he comes with divine, with supreme wisdom that covers areas that not only they have covered, but it shines light on areas that they haven't covered, and they realize that this man is really light years ahead. And this is what happened with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The people in the East, they were marveling at what we were doing in the Nation of Islam. Because at the end of the day, the Islam is about what kind of progress you're making. And they looked and they saw what we were doing and gained great respect for us, as it was back in the late 70s when the Ayatollah Khomeini, who was in France, had observed the Nation of Islam. And before he came out of exile in France back to Iran, he was telling the people, that's when he started saying, he said that America is the great Satan. That came from Elijah Muhammad. He saw how the minister had been, how we had been distributing cassette tapes, disseminating the message with cassette tapes. He did the same thing in Iran. And when he got back to Iran, and then they were trying to do these sanctions and put all kind of pressure on the Iranian government, he said, what you all ought to do, what we got to do is we got to eat one meal a day. Now, where you heard that from? You see? Yeah. And so, man, it's a beautiful thing. Yes, and then that's what we're doing. We're just like what Gladys, and I think it was Gladys Knight, she said, we got to get right down to the real nitty-gritty.
Right, and that's what I was thinking about, practical application.
That's right.
That so we can discuss it and talk about it, but this applied science, and I'm thinking about when I went to the applied science school here with the Church of Scientology, and you have to apply it to really see the effect of what it is you're learning about.
Yeah, to understand it. That's right.
It's showtime, but for yourself to see if what you have, and it's that root knowledge that the Elijah Muhammad is teaching us, and then to be searching, trying to find a tool, as he called auditing, a tool to help. Because I heard him said he didn't like what, the good things that the messenger would say about him. Not he didn't like it, but to accept that and still feel like you're not there. So you don't put it on you because you're not there yet. Or I don't know how that was. I was just thinking about that as going to the root of us. I understand the poise and the praise when people say things, but I was thinking in terms of when the messenger was saying good things about him and how, you know, it was like he's saying, I couldn't accept at that time what he was saying about me. It's like a prophetess and somebody sees you and say, you're going to be whatever, you know, and start talking about your future, and you don't see it right now.
Yeah, what it goes back to the automaticity, the automatic function of the mind. See, once you get used to thinking of yourself in a negative, from a negative perspective, all of your life you've been thinking about, I ain't this, I can't have this. You think about what you ain't. And then, so your mind develops a habit of automaticity, an automatic function that automatically enters into the calculation that you can't do it. That's in your calculation. That's the judgment. And actually, that is a mock-up that you have of yourself that exists in your mind that's holding you back. When you have created a ridge. All right. And so when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad presents him with some data or with some reality that he is not that, then the automaticity or the automatic function of I ain't, it has to be dealt with. You know, when you've had something, you've had this idea for a while. It's just like if you had a car for a long time, and then all of a sudden the car's gone. You feeling a void. You begin to fit. That's how people have sentimental values. That's a good example. Certain things are sentimental to them. So when they lose this thing that has sentimental value, you know, you're feeling a certain, that there's a certain void that happens there. And so that comes as a result of the automaticity of the mind. And the automaticity of the mind is part of the way that the mind handles and manages all of these pictures that we're taking in on an ongoing basis. So yeah, that's kind of getting a little bit deep into it. But all of these things are things that we have to we deal with auditing. For what the minister was saying, basically, is that when the minister told him that, the messenger was actually challenging a postulate that he has made. He had made a postulate that he wasn't this, or he wasn't that. So the messenger gave him, made a statement that attacked that postulate, which that was a postulate that created a false barrier between him and himself. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Brother Luke Munn, go ahead, brother.
So in I think of Sister Denise, in her original question, did she mention psychosomatic illness?
Yeah, we was,
Yep.
yes, she
Okay.
did.
Yeah, what I was saying, I didn't know if that was one of the therapies as well, you know, to be used under the title of therapies, you know, auditing is one, and the locks and all of that, but I thought the psychosomatic illness was part of that as well.
Yeah, it's the effect.
Brother Batin, do you mind
go
if
ahead.
do you mind if I read something real quick?
Please, go ahead, brother.
This was actually part of the lesson I actually had to study to get turned in for today. It's under the title of Self-Analysis in Scientology. It's from the PDC course. And it says, at times, the mind loses the communication necessary to regulate portions of the body or physical functions. The energy flows of the mind are unable to penetrate some area of memory or some physical portion of the person. This comes about because of energy ridges, solid walls of old inactive energy, which inhibit new live flow from the mind. So the question becomes, what's the connection between the memory and the physical body? Then he says this, he says, interesting enough, when the mind loses communication with the past, it also loses communication generally with some part of the body. It is as though the memory was stored in the body itself. And indeed it is, in the form of electronic ridges. These can become so detached from the live beingness of a person that such areas have a tendency to act like other beings. So he was saying that whatever injuries we have, since our body records, our body is basically a living time track. And he called it, further down, he went from calling it the reactive mind to the genetic entity. Everything is recorded in our human body. And Allah says in the Holy Quran that in that day, I think Allah says their hand and their feet will speak against them. Our body represents our time track. And what he says is that whatever sickness we have, where that sickness is in the human body represents a part of the memory that we don't have the ability to access. And then he finally says, the mind avoids in putting out flows in any area of the body which has been severely injured. It is as though by permitting itself to be hurt and thus hurt other parts of the body, the injured part declared itself an enemy of the body. The mind avoids these areas, and amusingly, it could be said that a state of war can exist between the foot and some other portion. A nation falls apart through internal dissension, and the body falls apart by these subdivisions. So it's like, if we looked at the human body like the Black community, and we looked at the final call like the life force, wherever the life force can't get to, that's where the sickness and the wilderness and the disease exists. So in our body, if you injure your arm, you guard it. You don't want anyone to come close to it because you don't want anyone to hit it to cause you pain. Our mind does the same thing. So just the final note, what he's saying is our body records our pain, and where the sickness exists, that's the part of our memory that we can't access. And that's why when we go through auditing and we can clear and we can get back to that point of our time track and remove the charge from that, it is like introducing the energy back to that part. And that's why the sickness or illness begins to diminish and then goes away.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And so, and also what you describing, I think that basically says what we were saying a little bit earlier too, of course, with much more detail. But when you go back to book 1, he describes that, and what he's describing there in PDC is just a much more detailed description of what we call the somatic strip.
Yes, sir. Exactly.
It's the somatic strip. And also what he was saying too about how engrams are recorded on a cellular level. And when you go to, I think it's advanced procedures and axioms, he has the whole thing about the epicenter. The epicenters and how the epicenters, he describes how the how these things are recorded on a cellular level. So yes, all of that is true. But just to make it as plain as possible, yeah, the psychosomatic illness, but it is what the therapy, it is not the therapy, but it is what the therapy is aimed at. You know, it is the target. It is the target of the therapy. They're not to be looked at as the same thing. Okay. Go ahead, Sister Carol.
Wow, I thought I loved psychology, but brother, this is so beautiful. And the points that I forget the brother's name, that was wonderful. So therefore, the minister could not accept these things because it went back to that 3 times that his mother tried to kill him. And Allah stayed a hand after the 3rd try. So therefore, he talked about it a lot in many tapes. And the most beautiful was How to Give Birth to a God, because by that time he had pretty much figured out why he had this low. He didn't think much of himself.
Yeah. Self-esteem.
He used to play on the bed and put a tent around him, which was, I think, was reenacting the womb, because he wanted to get back in there. He felt covered and protected. So with that, like I said, I think he pretty much figured that out because of questioning the circumstances of his birth with his uncles. You know, he talks about that. But now I understand why it, up until now, but I have to interject this. I believe all of this was set in motion by Allah to take him gradually, to stretch it out to this point, because last Savior's Day, Jesus is the key. He recalls how when the messenger had him do this lecture, what is it?
On this man, I have laid the key.
I've laid the key on this, I have. And he shows how I will. He was saying, I have. The messenger was saying, I will, talking about him, but he could not allow that into his mind. He said, I have. And he tells us how that changed the whole tense, TENSE, of the thought. But Allah kept him slowed down to such a beautiful state where now he's just accepting, as I was saying yesterday when I heard you say, he is Farad. And he's just now accepting it. And he, early on, he talks about how he had to grow and how he wouldn't have been able to handle that anyway. But this is beautiful. I just had to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you, Sister Denise. Thank you, Brother Lukman. You know, you can't lose. That's what Reverend Ike used to say, you can't lose with the stuff we use, which is supreme wisdom. And what lecture is that, Brother Lukman, in the PDC?
It is an article, and it's found under the Philadelphia Doctor Course Lectures. It is,
I think some like 58 lectures, right?
No, I think there's 76, but
Okay.
this article was part of the reading assignment for lesson number 53.
Okay, so that would be it. It probably, if the, okay, all right, yeah, because I'm not that far into it, but I was just wondering what lecture, what CD would that be under?
Oh no, this is actually in the the books that come with the CDs.
Right, okay. It's like a reference. It's like
it's a
I got
reference lecture from 1952.
Right, okay. Good, beautiful. All right then, Brother Wadu, go ahead, sir. Thank you, Brother Lukman.
Yes, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sir.
I thank everyone for their contribution to the discussion thus far, as I had been thinking about the words self-esteem, and it was just brought out as earlier everyone was, or you yourself were recounting the minister's view of himself, and it's been restated in different ways by different people. The word self-esteem came to my mind, and in an arc type of connection, self-esteem, and I'm looking at this from a personal perspective, is connected to confidence. And when confidence is lacking, then you can't bring it. We've heard the minister, I believe, say, we've got to bring it. We've got to be able to bring it forth. And while what Mr. Hubbard is giving us is new, in some respects, I'm thinking that it may not be new from the perspective of hearing the minister speak of how Jesus was in the Egyptian schools of the mystical or the science arts of that day, and how the enemy devil has inflicted us with low self-esteem. And I'm speaking to myself, and having the low self-esteem, then I lack confidence to do certain things. I can't bring a new world into existence. I can't even help build a new world because I don't have confidence that I can do it. And so all praises due to Allah for instituting, coming and giving us a nation, and helping us to have knowledge of self that uproots the low self-esteem to build up that confidence again in us. I just wanted to offer that.
Praise be to Allah. And that's what it is. And that's what these sessions are about. And it's about, it's about the believers. And as we were saying earlier today, see, the belief, when we come into the belief is that which uproots and it disconnects us from this world. So when you begin to believe, then that means that you are taking that which you already know, you're taking that a step further, as in evolving your concept of this particular thing. So it's a beautiful thing. And boy, we got a ways to go, but my thing is let's hang in there, because let's stay in the class, and I appreciate what everybody is bringing, in the way of questions and the way any participation that you have, and really just being on the call, in my opinion, is that you are making a valuable contribution, because your attention, see, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to say and trying to get over to you, is that your attention is of paramount value, because your attention is actually a force in guiding the conversation. And then we have questions, and we got to revisit that a little bit later, but it's 2 o'clock. We're going to be disciplined on this one, brother and sisters. And I know we may want to go a little bit longer. Matter of fact, if you want to, I'm going to I'll keep the room open for probably no more than about 10 minutes if anybody wants to say anything after. But I want to go ahead on and close this session out now. Keeping with the discipline, but not worrying if we're not moving fast. We moving at Allah's pace. We moving at the pace that Allah wants us to move. And as we were saying the other day, this is why we get dissatisfied and develop ill feelings toward Allah, because things ain't moving at the pace that we think they ought to be moving. You see, I certainly, in my mind, I want this stuff to move at a certain pace, but it don't move like that all the time. So we have to learn how to accept, what Allah gives us. So we will bring this session to a close. We're going to make prayer, and I'm going to keep the room open for a few minutes in case somebody else wants to say, got anything else that they would like to say. All right. So let us pray. Attention, prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praises are due to Allah, the Lord of the world, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of this day of judgment in which we now live. To thee alone do we serve, and to thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us on the right path, the path you have bestowed favors, not of those whom your wrath has brought down, nor those who go astray. Amen. All right, brothers and sisters. Today is Thursday, so we got 6 o'clock Sunday with Brother Lukman, and we're back with STW on Tuesday, 10 a.m. Allah bless you with the light of understanding, and we're going to keep the room open if anybody got anything else to say. If not, we'll just see you on Sunday. Anybody? All right.
I'm gathering my thoughts.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you told me, because I was getting ready to be like the auction. And I was only going once. Well, I was going two. Going twice. Going thrice. But anyway, yeah, this is I don't know if I'm beginning to become a knowledge junkie, a study junkie, because I just get more and more fired up. And when you start talking about studying, go ahead, Sister Carol.
I would just like to know how far out. I'm completely new to all of this, but I was just wondering how far out in the course should I be looking into what the brother was just saying he was studying as psychosomatic, and these particular 76 lectures reading, and that was number 53. That was done in 1952. Reasonably thinking, I know I need to get a good hold of what everything is about, but how far out would you say? Because I can't wait to get there.
Well, I think if you have you read the first book, Dianetics, Modern Science of Mental Health?
Oh, the first many years ago, I had
Right.
the little handbook, but I don't think I did the complete book. but
Yeah.
I have the other one. So you say do that book first.
Well, actually what he's talking about, the fundamentals of what he's talking about is in that book. And as a matter of fact, he has a class that he's starting on Sunday that will actually take you through that book 1. And so
Okay, that's Brother Lookman, right?
right.
Okay.
So yeah, so I would say check that out, and that will kind of give you a good foundation, because what he's able to do, so you can see that he's studied quite a bit, and then so he's able to take that. See, that's a very advanced course that he's talking about, and so he's able to pull from that advanced course the reality and data that applies even to these fundamentals that are given in book 1. And as he was saying, he's going to go through book 1 and using the mirror and the lens of the Quran and the supreme wisdom. So I would say I would say do that.
With whipped cream and a cherry on the top.
Yeah, and maybe I should, whatever you got to say about that, Brother Luke Mon, too. So
we're gonna go from question number 1 all the way to question, I think it's number 209.
Wow.
We're gonna parse it question by question, and actually we're gonna align the lessons from the extension course. We're gonna align the questions and connect it directly with either the Holy Quran or the Supreme Wisdom, because as I'm going through the Dianetics course again, just review, all of this is in our Holy Quran. It's just that we have to do the word clearing on the Arabic, but it's in the Holy Quran already.
I ordered my notebooks, brother.
Praise
so
be to
you
Allah.
sent out the emails already for the sign-on into the class on Sunday?
No, ma'am. I haven't sent out the Zoom information as of yet. My schedule has been crazy. I'll try to either get that Zoom info I'll send it out either today or tomorrow. You did give me your email. If you could just give it to me again. I got so many notes all over my desk.
Okay, it's Carol.Asadi.
Oh, I just found my note. Okay, Carol.Asadi@Yahoo.
Right.
Okay.
Right. CAROL.ASADI@Yahoo.
Yahoo. I'll make sure you get that, Sister Carol.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Walaikum salam. All right, Sister Tina, go ahead, dear sister.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to add this. I don't know if this will help with Sister Carol's question, but she also has handbook for pre-clears, and it speaks, somewhat on psychosomatic in that book as well. So I just wanted to add that, if that's okay.
What you mean, is it okay? This is your class. It belongs to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Fellow scientists, master. And that's what we're doing. We studying. We trying to climb Jacob's ladder. When we get to the top, we won't have the problem that Jacob had, where Jacob was wrestling with the angel. We will have mastered this angel. All right. So may Allah bless each and every one of you. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And Brother Luke Mon is going to send out the information for Sunday. I'm sure that's going to be a very informative and useful class, because that's what it is. It's about fundamentals. It really is about fundamentals, because really, to me, the PDC, the course that Brother Lukeman is on now, and I'm on it too. I'm kind of going back and forth to different courses, but the PDC is somewhat of a harmonic. We just really identified it as a partial, because it embodies those same fundamental principles of the somatic strip and the facsimiles being written on a cellular level. And that's where you get what he called a genetic entity, which is another word for DNA. You see. So may Allah bless. If it's anybody got anything else to say before we shut this thing down for the day?
Yes, sir. Today's discussion and word clearing was very, very helpful for me, because it tied into, what I had mentioned earlier, and what Brother Wadu said about having low, self-esteem. Having low self-esteem is akin to a lack of confidence, and that is on a cellular level. It's on a cellular level, because
anything that's in your mind is written on the tail. That's right.
Yeah, so it goes deep into the atrocities that were done to us. As the minister said, we were completely made blind, deaf, and dumb, and the only way we were alive is because we were walking and talking, but we were dead.
Amen.
So yeah, so I thank Allah for these sessions, because it's helping to bring me to life where I didn't know I was so dead. So all praises due to Allah.
All praises are indeed due to Allah. All right, family. Allah bless you. Happy studying, happy mastering, and becoming closer to the Master Farad Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.